Hello, 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 and welcome to the College of Creation. Once again, my name is Dan.
And my name is Michael.
And I'm Justin.
And I'm Taylor. There we go. We still plugged it.
We have new people with us. It's not just the two of us today, folks. This week we brought in a couple of wonderful guests from the podcast So You Want to Be a DM. Incredible creators running great games and delivering great tips on how to get into the game and gaming in general. And we are absolutely stoked to have you, Justin, Taylor. Welcome to the College of Creation.
Thank you. It's so good to be here.
Yeah, absolutely honored to be included. Excited to get into some homebrew shenanigans.
Absolutely. Yeah, how did this experience sit with you all? I know we threw you all into the deep end with a prompt out of the blue.
Yeah. I mean, it's not too bad. Honestly, I feel like this is something that we haven't really talked about too much on the podcast, so it was a little kind of getting the gears going again on that end.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So far, yeah, all of our tips in regards to homebrew have been very, surface level. Very, hey, if you're just starting, just take a mechanic that exists and add it to a thing, and then there you go.
Yeah.
And then it's very, surface level so far. So I was excited. I also love food, so I'm in.
I'm in your Discord, and there's a whole section dedicated to just people posting photos of the food that they're eating.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, this is gonna be perfect.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So for our listeners who might not be familiar with what else you do over on So You Want to Be a DM, etc., give us a rundown. What are y'all all about?
You want to field this one, or you want me?
I mean, I got it. I mean, so for all of this stuff, it's recently we've started doing actual plays on Twitch as well, so that to kind of get a full overhead view of how D&D generally works. But also, we've got an amazing cast. Our most recent story that we finished was called Mythos University, which was a whole take on the phrase Greek life, but it was actually like Greek mythology type of deal. It was so much fun. The cast was amazing. The first couple of episodes should be out on YouTube. Everything's available on Twitch. And, yeah.
Yeah. So we started doing a podcast just giving tips and tricks. We want everyone to try being a dungeon master and to shake off the nerves and all the speed bumps that could potentially block your path. And, we just genuinely believe that everyone should try it. You don't have to do it forever. You don't have to become a forever DM. Maybe it's not for you, and that's a true thing that could happen. However, when you've experienced what it's like to get behind the DM screen, you have a different appreciation for the game itself and the storytelling and all the different work that goes into it. And so I would love for everyone to feel comfortable enough to be able to try it. And then we just putting our tips into practice with the actual plays. So... yeah. Sphinx City, and also showing that D&D doesn't have to be like Lord of the Rings, high fantasy, medieval European.
Yeah.
We've done a modern city campaign, now an ancient Greek mythology mixed with Animal House, and our next game is set in the public domains.
Ooh, say more about that.
So we're really excited. It starts September 5th is the premiere, but it's the world itself is called the public domains, and it's every character gets to play a different literary figure from the public domain. So a lot of research going into it. 007 is in the public domain, but only in Canada. So there's weird things I have to be cognizant of. So much copyright law is in my brain at this point. It's unreal.
That's so good.
Yeah.
What a good premise. Yeah.
That's very cool. Are you running it, Justin?
Yeah. I'm running
Very
it.
cool,
Taylor's
very cool.
a player with an interesting take on a classic.
Yeah, I'm playing John Watson versus Sherlock.
Very
and Sherlock
cool.
is a little owl familiar that I have that follows me around.
That's great. Michael, knee-jerk reaction. What would you play in this campaign? What's your public domain character?
I just recently entered the public domain. I think I would take Mickey Mouse.
Okay.
Ooh,
That's a good
I
one.
feel like Mickey Mouse would be a great swashbuckler.
Specifically Steamboat Willie.
Yeah.
Yeah, Steamboat Willie.
It's got to be
yeah.
Steamboat Willie.
He's proficient with water
love that.
vehicles, and he's always in black and white.
We love a tool
That's very
proficiency.
cool. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Especially a vehicle proficiency.
criminally underused.
Criminally, you're not wrong.
Dungeon masters use vehicles in your games. They make everything better.
I feel like I would love to rock like a 2-person character concept of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern.
That's really, really good. You know what's funny is I was thinking about them, but I couldn't separate them from Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, the like Tom Stoppard play, which is fairly recent. And I was like, oh, you can't use them. Totally forgetting that that's not where they originate from. They're much older than Tom Stoppard. But
Yes.
yeah, it's a lot of fun. I love taking genre approaches. That's what Taylor and I kind of came to the conclusion when we started doing actual plays, that it's like, on a scale of Critical Role to Dimension 20, where do we want to hit in terms of length of campaigns? And it was very quickly like, we don't want to do 2 years in the same world. We want to do a bunch of worlds. So it was like, we're just going to do, the longest we've done is 8 episodes for one season. But the sky's the limit. I have so many stupid ideas that we're excited for.
Yeah, it's incredibly cool what y'all are doing, not only with the introducing the ideas of DMing and running the game and in just a simplified way and in a really like not intimidating way. Very great, but the actual play is just top notch as well. So we are thrilled to have you two and your perspectives here today. To remind our listeners, the last time we decided on a prompt to bring in for today, we rolled on our big table of homebrew prompts that we get from our listeners and got wondrous food items was the prompt for today. So we all decided we would make a couple so as not to overextend the length too much. Just make a couple of wondrous food items and bring them to the table today.
I see what you did there.
Yes. It will be a veritable feast of wondrous food here today, of some variety or another. I think we were talking a little bit beforehand about sort of what ideas maybe you started with, but maybe decided to scrap partway through. I think this particular prompt is very rich with the potential for ideas. And honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, like a lot of stuff that I thought of fits right into your advice structure really well. Justin and Taylor, of like a lot of the ideas are like, oh, wouldn't it be fun to have like something that's like hot food, like hot spicy food that lets you breathe fire. And it's like, well, that's just a fire breathing potion. But I could call it spicy food and it has the effects of a fire breathing potion. And that's pretty cool. So, but I did eventually go a little more structured.
Yeah. Same here. I wrote down so many ideas and it truly started with just like, what are my favorite foods? And how do I make them magical or like fit in this setting in some way? And one of them remained, and the rest were kicked to the curb. Crab Rangoon, I was like, you can't summon a crab and eat eating crab. I was like, that's macabre. That's too dark. I draw the line. I can't have that. So I took Crab Rangoon off the list, even though I love it.
You could summon the spirit of a crab. Yeah.
I considered the burger of impossibility.
I also grabbed some inspiration from the Burger King.
I actually started not with food. I was thinking like, what would a wondrous food item be? And I was thinking more like tools. So I was thinking, what kind of tools could I add to the game? Like a can opener or like those like egg things. Like I was trying to think of like really weird like one-off things that like Alton Brown would hate.
Oh, the unitaskers. He hates those.
Yeah. He hates
the
unitaskers.
Oh, what a specific I love that reference. My whole childhood is Alton Brown and Good Eats.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've done a TikTok and thrown it away where I start the camera in the fridge and I open the fridge door and I'm like, what's going on in here? And every time I'm like, stupid. Why am I? It's not even it's a D&D TikTok. What does it have to do?
Just be the Alton Brown of D&D.
With the gritty.
Yeah.
Just lean into the energy.
Never go out of style.
Another place I took inspiration from was, or tried to take inspiration from, was Delicious in Dungeon, which has a character that like knows how to cook all the monster foods. And so I spent way too long trying to be like, what would be the best foods based on monsters that then you can...
Right.
I can create a rule set for like how you can harvest and then cook these food items and make whole recipes and stuff.
That's
and I was
like a whole
nope,
subclass.
That's too complicated for this. I can't do that today.
Yeah.
That's a later thing.
100%. I did have a human fighter character that was based on that. Sort of like the reason for adventuring is to write a cookbook for adventurers by adventurers on like cooking monsters essentially. And it was the same thing of like getting too deep into like culinary knowledge, like gastronomy, just being like, I guess if you could grind up a mimic, it would be like a roux, and then you could. And I'm like, why would that? Where am I going with this?
Yeah,
you think it's hard to just play a high intelligence character? Try playing a fighter that's also a chef.
I've also played a halfling chef. It was great. Love my little halfling chef. But yeah, it gets complicated very quickly trying to work with your DM to be like, how do I make this work? And it's not just the chef feat.
We've talked about the herbalism kit a lot on this show, where there's no defined way of using it. And there should be, like, that's one of the things that, like, especially crossing the bridge from tabletop to like video game players, there are so many people that are just like completionists, and they like making things, they like crafting, they like putting their knowledge into the game. And I feel like it's long overdue that we'd have some type of established central herbalism rule, and cooking it falls right in line with that. I feel like that is up there.
Cook's utensils need a robust rule set too.
Allegedly, 2024, all of the tools have specific uses. So
things that they can do. Okay.
This is recorded right before the drop of the new player's handbook. So we'll see in a couple days. Once this comes out, everybody will already know.
Well, regardless, today's goal was not to make robust rule sets for all of the different utensils and cook's tools. Instead, it was just to make food or food adjacent items.
Right.
So, folks, shall we get into it?
Let's
get into it.
Let's do it. Shall we? We usually just kind of alternate back and forth between the two of us, but I feel like with so many of us here, why don't we roll initiative and see who's going to present first? Shall we?
All right.
A D20 from all of us.
All right.
That run right.
I got another one, you guys. I got another
also got
one.
a 1, Taylor.
Ooh, 18.
So we have a 1 from Taylor. I have a 4.
I have a 1 also. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Oh man.
Whose dexterity is higher?
Roll off, Taylor. I don't actually know.
Yeah, roll again.
Roll off between me and Taylor. Okay, I got an 18.
I got a 5.
Okay.
All right, so Justin, Michael, me, and Taylor will bookend with this. So you want to be a DM, folks?
All right.
Incredible.
Perfect.
My middle name is
Justin.
Michael, so when you say Justin and then Michael, it throws me off. I was like, "Dang, you're full naming me." I didn't even.
Inception.
Is that on my? Is that on my Discord? I was like, "How did you know?"
Justin, tell us, what did you come up with for today?
So, my first item came from me selecting out of a list of my absolute favorite food items from our real world. So this always makes the what would you have as your last meal kind of like first date icebreaker question. This is constantly on that list. And then the rest kind of changes depending on my mood or what I've eaten recently. But it is a beautiful cake known as tres leches. Have any of you had tres leches? Before I go into a whole diatribe on this. Okay, fantastic. So here's what I have written. This confectionery treat is a cake made with the power of not 1, not 2, but 3 milks. After a long day of adventuring, there's nothing quite like the sweet escape of a tres leches. It's a light sponge cake coated in 3 milks and covered in homemade whipped cream. Strawberries are an optional addition, and some have been known to dust the top with cinnamon. I prefer mine just with simple whipped cream, but that's just me. Now, I had a lot of ideas, and I was playing truly into just the idea that there are 3 milks and just playing with the name and kind of focusing on that as a thing. Taylor and I have a running gag with our podcast that we have a sponsor from Big Milk. Like the equivalent of Big Oil or something like that. Big Milk, one of our biggest sponsors. Not really, but for fun. And so this also plays into that. So the idea was...
As soon as I saw it.
When you use an action to eat a piece of tres leches cake, you roll a 1d3, which if you don't have one, which is very likely, then you could roll a d6 and just kind of divide by 2, round up, I believe. And then for the following hour, depending on what you rolled with that d3, a 1, 2, or a 3, you get a plus 1, 2, or 3 on all ability checks, depending on what you rolled. And then I added in this extra little optional rule because I knew we were going to be discussing things and stuff like that. This is my original idea, was the tres leches cake is so good that not only do you get plus 1, plus 2, or plus 3 on ability checks, now it only lasts a minute instead of an hour, so I did balance it slightly, but now you get it on all d20 checks. So ability checks, attack rolls, and saving throws, you just get this bonus for the next minute.
Yeah, you took it from out of combat to an in-combat item, possibly.
Yeah,
potentially.
You're going to want to pocket that tres leches right at the start of combat if possible.
It's true. That's great.
I like this. Yeah.
Very fun. I like the D3 mechanic, and depending on the power of the milks.
Right.
How many of the milks are you truly getting in this
game? Are you taking in all 3 of? Are you really how many do you appreciate? Do you just get the one surface level note, or
just evaporated milk? That's just a plus
right.
Right. You have to roll on a table for the type of milk that actually goes into the cake. Is it oat milk? Is it almond milk? Is it
that could change
milk?
things. That could change
milk?
things.
Just simple cow's milk.
Because I know an actual tres leches cake, and I know this because I eat it all the time. It's like the one thing you'll see on a menu, and it's like $8 for a slice, and I don't care. I don't care. I'm getting the tres leches cake if they have it. I'm getting it.
Yeah.
But I know that it is condensed milk, evaporated milk, and then the third could be just a normal milk. That's where you would make your substitution for oat milk or almond milk or something like that. But I would go cream, because if you're eating tres leches, I mean, you go all the way.
If you're gonna have a slice,
no half
have
measures.
a slice,
right?
Yeah.
No half measures with dessert.
Absolutely. My first thought on this is, if I had this at my table, I would absolutely just use that optional rule. Specifically, it could last a full hour. Specifically, if we're using a D6 and then dividing by 2, only if you roll a 6, you get that full all D20 rolls for the full hour.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I like that. I like that kind of boost of getting good rolls means you get
that
better
6 is
things.
the best tres leches cake you've
it's
ever
the
had
best
in your
thing
life.
Yeah, you're rolling for taste.
I like
So
the
good.
idea of adding in an element. I've always been a fan of like chance, like the moments in D&D that are worked in. For example, like oh god, Taylor, what's that fucking feat that I love so much? Sharpshooter. The -5 get a plus 10.
So good.
Great weapon master,
Yeah.
same thing.
Yep.
I love that. The fact that they got rid of that in the 2024, don't even get me started. But I just love that stuff. So I like the idea of kind of it being like the Trace Light Cheesecake could be just like an average Trace Light Cheesecake, which is still good.
Yeah.
Or it could be
still
the
good.
best Trace Light Cheesecake you've ever had. And there being a difference in how it affects you is very funny to me.
That's great. That's great. What else did you come with?
All DMs will appreciate this. I had a real trouble coming up with a name for this one. I was all over the place. I looked up charcuterie. So the next one's a charcuterie board, but specifically it's called Roll for Charcuterie Board.
I love it so much.
Now,
so good.
I looked up charcuterie it comes from France. It's a French word, and if you were to translate it literally, which not oftentimes translation is meant to be taken literally, but if you did, it turns into flesh cooked. And I was like, that's pretty dark. Like, that's intense. And we're talking about Delicious in Dungeon, and this is where I went with that one. But I also provided some other things that aren't parts of monsters to eat. You get this large wooden board, and it has an assortment of all different things. If you're familiar with Lunchables, it's the fancier version of that. And so I give you the option of rolling for a charcuterie board to see what's on your plate, essentially. And there's a table for cheese, meats, miscellaneous, where I threw in like olives, crackers, figs, like all those other things that you find on a charcuterie board that are delicious, but not necessarily the star of the show. And then the piece de resistance, the true part of this, the star, is the monster parts, which I couldn't think of anything better than just parts, because they truly are from all
Zelda.
over. Yeah, I mean, so you get to roll a d4 to see how many monster parts are on your charcuterie board.
Great.
So if you roll a 1, you only get 1 monster part, a 4 of them, and the first one, fozberries, lightly frozen from a banshee's whisper. Just the idea that, like, you know, like ice wine exists where they pick the grapes when they're frozen and it makes ice wine like incredibly sweet. So just that sort of playing on that idea, but the idea that the frost is caused by a supernatural element of a banshee, not screaming, just whispering.
Just a little, just a little
Taste. Yeah.
And
it's artisanal.
Yeah, it's just a whisper of a scream, which is to say a whisper, I suppose. But and each monster part will give you some sort of magical ability for a certain amount of time. The Banshee Whisper Fozberries see into the ethereal plane for 1 hour. Next up, Chimera Sharp Cheddar. So Chimera's got 3 sort of body parts, right? I imagine you can get milk somehow. The idea being that you made this sharp cheddar using that.
It's got to be in there somewhere.
It's got to be.
It's a mammal.
So it's mostly, I mean,
part of it is.
Yeah.
It's like 80% mammal.
Yeah, 2/3 of it is at least.
Yeah, right.
But
right.
So when you eat the sharp cheddar made from chimera milk, whatever that is, however, you best of luck. You gain bite and claw attacks that do 1d8 plus your strength modifier. So you're just gaining natural weapons, essentially.
Okay.
Then we have fried basilisk eyes stuffed with blue cheese and drizzled with hot honey. I had to dress up basilisk eyes to make them seem almost satisfying. And this would be giving you immunity to petrification for 8 hours. I thought giving them the ability to do what basilisks do would be a little OP. I was like, giving somebody the ability to flesh to stone is like a lot, actually. That's like, what, a 6th level spell? I was like, I don't know. Then we have black pudding.
Somebody eating a charcuterie board, not knowing that these are on there too, and they just like go home and they petrify their wife or something.
Ooh, blue cheese olives.
That'd be crazy.
Oh no, honey.
Delicious. I love these.
Then we have black pudding. Obviously, this is a play on the food black pudding, which is a blood sausage made with rice and stuff like that. And black pudding, the classic D&D monster. When you eat this, you gain the corrosive form for 1 minute, which is just like, if you look up a black pudding, it's one of the abilities that they have, right? And I just changed it ever so slightly, took out a couple things. So anytime you get touched or hit with a melee attack, as long as I didn't write this, but as long as the creature's within 5 feet of you, they take 1d8 acid damage, and you can eat through 2 inches of wood or metal in 1 round. So just this really interesting ability that I don't think players often get is this idea that you can just melt through stuff, but it's only a minute. It's pretty timely. Then we get water elemental foam. All fancy foods. I feel like a foam is like it's like the go-to joke to make fun of fancy food is to be like, there was a foam. It's just like, it's like how people say sports ball. Like, it's that low-hanging fruit that I had to include it. Water elemental foam. You gain water breathing and a swim speed of 30 feet for 8 hours. Classic. And then ochre jam. Obviously a play on ochre jelly. Gain the amorphous trait for 1 hour. You can move through a space as narrow as 1 inch without squeezing. So you're essentially the senator from the first X-Men movie.
Yeah. I was right there immediately.
Yeah.
Very nice. I love this. We should you should send this over to Roll for Sandwich because this is the vibes, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
This is great.
Good.
Thank you.
I really love the Banshee's Whisper. It's like a Banshee LaCroix. You just kind of faintly taste that hint of Banshee on.
Yep. That's so funny. Yeah, it's perfect.
We have to remember to add Chimera milk to the rollable table for the Tres Leches.
Don't forget that.
Yeah. Of course.
So good. Yeah, I think this is great. I love the randomized charcuterie board thing, especially utilizing the idea of pulling monster parts.
So good
To create like an adventurer's tavern would have this on the menu as like a
these are great
appetizer for the table option. Great, love it.
Yeah, that's the plan is just to use what's around you. And if you have a bunch of monsters, you'll notice the interesting thing about this too is like just having the metagame and also like separation between like understanding that like I shouldn't put goblin parts because that is sentient. You know what I mean? Like it starts to be like, okay, are they monsters? I mean, they're in the monster manual, but it's like there's a difference. I chose animals fairly specifically, right? Like the banshee doesn't get eaten; it just breeds on the thing. And
undead monstrosities, oozes, elementals, generally non-humanoid adjacent. That's good.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a certain amount of care here. There's some ethics behind the scene.
Could get a little weird if not.
Yeah.
So we appreciate
For
that.
sure.
Well,
Love
great.
Love it.
Well, thanks, Justin, and thanks for jumping in feet first with this one. I think it's great. I think it's great.
Incredible.
How about you, Michael?
I went through a number of different ideas this week. I thought, like I said before, I thought about actual utensils to be used as tools instead of food items at first. I thought that might be a unique way to look at this, and then I just couldn't figure out a good way to actually put that into writing. It was a bit too complex. So I was just looking through Homebrewery, and there's this new setting called Journal, and I was inspired by this journal. So I actually took real recipes that my family uses, and I made them into magical food. It is we're on the brink of autumn time. These are both soups.
Soup season, baby.
We enjoy. Yeah, it is soup season. Starbucks just came out with all their pumpkin beverages. We're diving into the fall.
Here we go. And so it begins.
So it begins, yeah. I revel in my basicness. I don't even care. So I lovingly called this the recipes of Chef Boyardee.
Love it.
If you're stumbling upon this pamphlet, it's likely because you love bold magic and even bolder soups. Listed below are 2 mainstay soup dishes from my many successful and lucrative restaurants. These recipes make enough portions to provide the soup's effect to 8 creatures, and 1 full portion takes a minute to consume. Once you know these recipes, they take 30 minutes to prepare if you have the necessary ingredients and materials. Enjoy! Signed, Chef Jonathan Boyardee, Soup Czar of the Western Realm.
Incredible.
Great. We love it. Top notch. Top notch work once again.
Thanks.
Thank
you.
I do love an NPC that is introducing the document.
You built in.
Yeah.
I love stuff like that. I do that a lot with my own stuff.
Jonathan, you could drop Johnny B right into your game. Good old Jonathan Brew-RD.
Chef Brew-RD.
So I have two soups here. I have a brothy tortellini soup, and I have an autumn squash bisque. And these are actual recipes with the real instructions. So if you want to use them, you can.
Very cool.
They are available to you with time and everything. I did simplify it in the description. I think they do take more than 30 minutes total to do these, but for in-game mechanics, that will work for me for now. So first, the brothy tortellini soup. This is a very rare potion. This hearty mixture of flavors and textures includes the greens to keep you healthy and the carbs to keep you going. Upon consumption of a full portion of this soup, you gain 3d10 temporary hit points, and you regain all expended hit dice. If you have all of your hit dice at the time of consumption, you instead regain hit points equal to 3 of your hit dice. So it does vary a little bit based on class if you have all of your hit dice in there. But it's just a good thing to do on a short rest. If somebody knows how to make this, you can use a bunch of your hit dice, and then everybody eats the soup, and it's like it never happened.
That's
Hearty
solid.
soup. And then the second one is the autumn squash bisque. This creamy harvest soup is perfect for keeping warm in cooler weather. Upon consumption of a full portion of this soup, and for 1 hour, you are immune to the effects of extreme cold, and do not suffer any reduction in movement speed due to difficult terrain, as long as it's caused by wind, snow, or ice. You also have advantage on all saving throws that would result in you taking cold damage. So It's not a resistance to cold damage, it's just an overall safety net if you do come into contact with some saving throws. That is a rare potion.
Great.
But that's it. Those were the ones that I came up with.
Incredible.
They both also sound like really good actual soups.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
autumn squash
Oh, yeah.
soup is my favorite soup of all time. It
The
is my
like
favorite.
squash soup?
Yeah.
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 That sounds really good,
Oh, yeah.
honestly. I could really go for some of that. I love the little addition of a tiny bit of cinnamon and cayenne in there.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit of heat. Yeah.
Might even throw some like
Keep you
allspice.
going.
Incredible.
That sounds great. Sounds really good, and now I'm hungry. So thanks.
They do both sound so
Come to
good.
Ohio.
Yeah.
My birthday's coming up. I'll make a big vat of soup for my birthday. We
Nice.
can all have a bonfire in my yard.
Let me ask you this. How would
Yeah.
you flavor Italian seasoning in the tortellini soup recipe?
I thought about that, and then I forgot about it until just this moment, right here. I don't know.
I don't know.
Just go into
what's
the
most
forest and chop up.
Yeah, what's the most
chop up
Italian
the leaves,
adjacent
the
thing?
first leaves you find.
I have the answer. I have the answer for you. In our Sphinx City game, which is just magical New York City, I changed Little Italy to Little Feywild, and so Sylvan is
yeah.
Italian. So it was a lot of that. It was a lot of like the gang leader, the Don, is a little pixie, does the Godfather voice.
Oh my gosh, the voice is so good.
It was a lot of fun. Hey guys, doing?
Yeah, we need a sample of
You
this.
come here on the day of my daughter's wedding. You don't even bring me tortellini soup. What's the matter with you?
I need to get those hit dice back.
I do like that a lot though, because it's one of those things. No matter how long you play D&D, you'll find out a rule that is technically rules is written. You're like, dang, I did not know that was a rule. Like,
Right.
I feel like I only found out maybe within the last year that when you spend hit dice during short rests and stuff like that, on a long rest, you only gain back half of your hit dice. Like, you don't just
of your total,
every
yeah.
long rest just regain all your hit dice. That's technically not how it works. How you home rule that is by all means, but like
Yeah.
Yeah.
technically you don't get them all back. And so I've been starting to do that in games where I'm like, ooh, guys, technically on a long rest you don't regain them all back.
Actually,
Because, we have a
yeah.
warlock. We have a bunch of people who are doing 1,000 things on short rest. So it's like, This soup could be
That's-
huge.
That's the thing. It's like a limiting factor for short rests. It makes you not want to use your hit dice as much or take as many short rests because you're not going to get all your hit dice back.
And what if you
but
need
this
them?
is a very nice thing. My thought and my question immediately about this is like, I would want to, again, I'm all about creating like massive, robust rule sets that are probably overly complicated, but I'm like, how do you harvest then all of this stuff and have it on your pack so that you can prepare this during a short rest or something? So you gotta have cooked utensils, and you gotta
move it into your herbalist pack.
have a garden or like go to a market and buy all of this stuff.
A garden. That's what you have to do. You have to buy a plot of land in your city and
tend
just
to
start
it.
tending your garden. Hire somebody,
Farm
an
to table.
NPC to start tending
Truly
to your
farm to
garden
table.
and cultivating all. Yeah.
What
And then every
about
time you stop back into that city, you pick
You
up
could
your
you could have a
ingredients.
garden inside of your like Druid Grove though, right? You could do Druid Grove and have a garden
That's
in there.
true.
You could
Yeah.
do
That's
a
true.
magnificent mansion and
That's
start
what I
a
was gonna
garden
say.
within
Yeah.
the magnificent mansion.
if you did an agricultural version of Mordenkainen's Magnificent Mansion, I think that would be so cool.
Yeah.
That would
It's
be
like
so cool.
Mordenkainen's cozy cottage.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a ranch style, so I can have a farm in the back.
Right.
I
It's
love
more about
that.
the acreage than the square footage.
Right.
Yeah. I also thought about expiry for these. I didn't end up putting it in because I thought that would it would just be. I wanted to simplify.
Yeah.
But originally, I
mean-
did have a mechanic in there that if you make the soup and you have it on your person for more than like 1d6 days, it goes bad.
Yeah.
And it actually negatively affects you. Like it is poisonous to
Poison
eat.
condition, yeah.
Yeah, something really minor, like a little bit of poison damage or the poison condition or something. But I did take that out because I assume that when you make it, you just will use
Yeah.
it right away.
Yeah, I think that given it's
That's the
only takes
implication. Yeah.
30 minutes to make, it's probably something that it's just kind of like going to be one of those, okay, we're taking a short rest, let's have some tortellinis.
Very easily,
Yep.
Yeah.
Great.
very easy to do on short rest. Yeah,
I love it.
especially with things like create bonfire and prestidigitation that you can just like instantly heat your pot. Of
Right.
stuff. Makes it much
That's
easier,
so
much
true.
more doable.
No preheating necessary.
So cool, Michael. So cool.
Thank you, man.
I can't wait to make that squash soup.
Yeah. Take the recipes. Let me know how you like them.
I will.
Very good. Dan, what do you have?
I went through so many things. Like I said, the Burger of Impossibility was a strong contender for a while, but I couldn't figure out what the impossible part was. It needed to be a burger, but it was like, what is it? What is it really? And just couldn't land it. So I scrapped that idea. Had a lot of thoughts about like creating options for how do we harvest monster parts and make them into food. But I just like couldn't bring that today. So instead, I brought a couple of much more simple things taken primarily from personal experience. So I have spent most of my adult working life working in coffee. So I've been a manager or a barista at coffee shops, kind of in nationwide, in a bunch of different places. So I love coffee. I love making coffee. And I wanted to put coffee into the game. So I have created, my first item is just freshly brewed coffee. Now you can complicate
Beautiful in
this.
its
I could
simplicity,
potentially
yeah.
go in and have like, here's a latte, here's a cappuccino, whatever else, but it's not important. The important part is just the basic coffee. So this is a potion, and it's common. It's just common. I even considered making it not a magical item at all, just like
Right.
a common
Yeah.
thing that you can find out in the world. But this delightfully roasty and bitter brew is invigorating to the senses. For 8 hours after drinking this beverage, you gain the following benefits. You cannot be put to sleep by non-magical means. If you have any levels of exhaustion, you can ignore the effects of the highest level, and you gain a +2 bonus to your passive perception and passive investigation scores.
Okay. So to clarify, this
Yes.
is not eliminating exhaustion.
No.
Right.
It's just knocking one
ignoring
layer
the
of it.
effects.
Yeah.
Anybody who knows coffee well enough
Yeah, no, it does.
Analogous
You,
to
saves it off,
actual
but that,
coffee.
that exhaustion comes right back.
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Immediately at that 8-hour point.
Yep,
feel
you're just like,
garbage.
oh no, it's back. Yep, can't. I'm at half speed again. Dang.
Yeah, you guys go
This is
ahead.
great.
Go
That's
ahead.
so
I'm,
real.
I'm so sleepy.
Luckily, it's common, so you can just keep drinking it.
Yeah,
And
yeah, you know.
find it pretty easy.
because that never turns out poorly ever.
Yeah.
Just keep pounding
Yeah,
coffee.
I mean, I did consider putting in the idea of like this is also slightly
Too
addictive.
much.
So if
Yeah.
if you do drink this
That'd be great.
X number of days in a row, if you have this potion, 30 days in a row, you start to the effects start to become shorter and shorter, and you start to it only actually lasts for 4 hours instead.
I like that
and-
of the shortening intervals there.
But I
Cue
didn't
Dan,
add that for the moment.
Stirring in a new mechanic. This is your new structure that you're going to be
More coffee mechanics. That's
full
what we didn't know we
caffeine
needed
mechanic,
for
yeah.
Dungeons and
Yeah,
Dragons.
caffeine mechanics. That's the new rules.
I like it.
No, for now it's just the basic version of it, yeah, I've always wanted to have a merchant selling coffee in my towns, and now I have an actual item to give when somebody wants to buy a coffee, and there you go. And then I made not necessarily a food item, but a way to get food items. So this is called the Hub of Grub. This is an uncommon, wondrous item. This mystical tablet holds the power to summon all manner of sustenance to your immediate location. As an action, you can speak a command word into the tablet, choosing from the dishes below, and inserting the necessary gold pieces. Your order arrives in 1d4 plus 1 rounds via an extraplanar messenger, and any creature in possession of one of the food items can consume it as a bonus action to gain the listed benefits for the following 2 hours. Ta-da.
Nice.
Wow.
You just order some food, and an extraplanar messenger delivers it in 1d4 plus 1 rounds.
Here you
The
go, sir.
items here, as listed, are spicy soup for 2 gold per portion, and you become immune to the poison condition and have resistance to cold damage. Saucy noodles for 4 gold pieces. You are unaffected by difficult terrain and gain advantage on contested grapple checks. Healthy salad is 5 gold pieces. You gain 1d6 temporary hit points and advantage on constitution saving throws. There's a protein smoothie that's 6 gold pieces, and when rolling damage for weapon attacks, you can re-roll all 1s. You can order a cheesy pizza for 8 gold pieces and can choose to automatically succeed a single saving throw before the end of the duration. And then you can get a bougie grain bowl for 10 gold pieces a portion to gain advantage on all charisma checks and become immune to the charmed condition. So just all these things that you can get from your little delivery application.
I love this one.
So good.
I love this one.
So can you
as a
order
DM.
more than one
Oh, go for it.
portion?
I had a similar
Can you order more than one portion per turn? Like if
Yeah.
you wanted to... Okay. So
Yeah,
you can like
put it in order for however many portions you want. You just have to pay the gold for it. You know?
Right. Okay.
You can even do multiple things per order. You can get well. I want to get a healthy salad, but then I think who wants pizza? Anybody in for pizza? Okay,
That's
we want 3
really
pizzas,
cool.
I'll be
a
bad.
salad.
I'll be bad. I'll have some pizza.
And, protein smoothie for the barbarian.
Yes, thanks.
And pay all the gold pieces, and that will be at your location in 1d4 plus 1 rounds. So you could order this in combat.
Crazy
You could do this
fast.
first round of combat and just shoot, we need protein badly.
I do like this a lot. I love the implication of trying, as a DM, the first thing I'm thinking of is what is this extraplanar messenger going to look like?
Yeah.
Like, how are they going to be? And like, what is that interaction going to be like?
They also
love it.
accept tips. It's really important that you tip. Actually, really, when you think about it, the time and the gas and all of the expenses of extraplanar travel. Really, at the end of the day, the paycheck they're taking home is really pretty minor, given that they have to cover a lot of their own expenses. So it's really important that you also tip the extraplanar messenger.
I like
The explainer messenger is going to end up being the party's favorite NPC.
Oh yeah,
Playing
100%.
that messenger for the rest of the campaign. So you better choose a good character for this.
Yep.
Because they're going to keep it around forever.
I would love this, actually, just for the pure sake of making it an entire like beeline story of just like having the person come a bunch of times, and then like it's a different person all of a sudden, and have the PCs be like, Where's Jerry? Like, what's going on? And be like, they let Jerry go. I know. And then like there's this whole thing about it. Like, why did he get let go? But
He kept giving you extra orders of noodles.
Exactly. Exactly. And
the
like
bottom line.
It makes me think, since you bring up the idea of tipping, like, what if the party doesn't tip? And then having the relationship dwindle, and like it's not 1d4 plus 1 rounds. It's like getting up there where it's like they show up at the end of combat and they're like, sorry, somebody ordered a soup. Whatever. It's like cold. It doesn't give you the benefits anymore.
I had troubles with my GPS. I gotta.
Sorry.
Your address is wrong in here. Your location is not actually on the material plane.
Find your location.
I was looking in the ethereal plane for like an hour.
Crazy.
So wild. Add that to the list of things that Dan now has to make: a caffeine mechanic, and now a full service and tipping mechanic.
Yeah.
For this, we need to flesh this all out.
I love it.
Great. I'll get right on it.
The hub of grub. I love it.
Yeah, what about you, Taylor?
So for mine, they're both vaguely breakfast related because I do enjoy breakfast. I do love breakfast. One of my favorite things is the croissant from Burger King. And so like I was like, can I wanted to make a sausage, egg, and cheese croissant, but at the same time, because it's like this supposed to be like a wondrous kind of item, I wanted it to be reusable. So like you can't like uneat a croissant. So the way that I went around it for the first one, it's called the Evocator's Egg, and it's this ornately carved, like decorated with like runes and sigils on an egg, kind of like the fanciest Easter egg you've ever seen in your life. But it's like an actual egg. You crack it open and you cook it, and then when you eat that egg, you gain some benefits for the next 8 hours. It's kind of crazy, but when you're doing rolling damage for an evocation spell, you can reroll 1s and 2s. You have to take the second result. When a creature rolls a saving throw against one of your evocation spells, that rolls at disadvantage, and then you have advantage on attack rolls with evocation spells. So it's all evocation related. You get the effects for 8 hours, but then once you use the egg, you can cast Mending on it to put it all back together, and then it'll all slowly recharge over the next 7 days, and then you can use it again.
Oh, that's a cool piece there. I like that a lot.
I am a sucker for a consumable item.
Yep.
But a consumable item with an egregious time limit to recharge is better. It's better than that.
That's so good.
So good.
Because like I want it to be used, like this is a really strong evocation thing, and I wanted it, like I said, to be reusable, but you can't give all of these bonuses out and have it recharge on the next dawn at all. You can't do that.
No,
this is something you crack open before you crack this open before a big fight. You're going to get the benefits for that fight, and then you're going to have to wait.
I think that's very, very cool.
I have a player at my home table that has a Rod of Rulership. That recharges. It has a long recharge thing, but it can charm like like dozens of monsters all at the same time. And that's what this makes me think of. Because it's like one big, powerful, all, pardon the pun, all eggs in one basket type of thing. And then you have to wait. You have to time this out.
Yeah,
7
yeah.
days could take like months, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like 9 months in real time.
That's what Justin did in our campaign, actually, like our home campaign. I have a necklace of prayer beads that has greater restoration on it. But that greater restoration bead takes 7 days to recharge. So after I use it, it's a week, which for us is 6 months.
It's so long. Yeah, I gave that to them very early.
Such a long time. Yeah.
Just as like a way of being like, I want to throw some stuff at them that only greater restoration can fix. I gotta give them a magic item.
Yeah.
That's how you get away with it. That's how you get away with the stronger stuff. Give them the solution. Make it rechargeable.
Exactly.
Hard to recharge.
I like.
Yeah.
Oh, the last thing I'll say about this egg is just the idea that in a roleplay scene, somebody who doesn't have any evocation stuff would eat this egg is so funny to me.
Just
like the wizard wakes up and is like, "Where's my? Oh, it's been 7 days. Where's my egg?" And the barbarian's like, "Sorry,
I just thought it was a fancy egg." Yeah,
that is so funny. I do like this. I want a whole set for one for every
every
like
school.
a different food item for every school of magic. Yeah.
I do like it because like
the illusionist's banana or something.
Right, and each one of them would have to be something kind of different. The reason why I picked evocation because it's the easiest one to kind of break the rules on the magic for, because it's almost all of them are damage. So just up the damage and disadvantage on saving throws and stuff. Easy peasy.
So cool.
I imagine that first stipulation could be real sick for like the higher level healing spells where you roll a bunch of dice. If you roll a bunch of 1s or 2s, is that like one reroll for the entire spell or one reroll for each die? Because that could change the game in
all 1s and 2s.
It's reroll 1s and 2s. Yeah, and then once you reroll all of those, once you roll them all once, then that's it. You have to take the second result.
I like it.
Yeah, I
like
think that's super cool. And I love the like kintsugi put the egg back together thing. Great.
Yeah, and that's something that you could kind of hide in the lore of it, or make like they'd only find out about it if they cast Identify or something on it. So like they don't necessarily know right off the bat that, hey, this is reusable too, by the way, guys.
Sneaky.
Yeah. All right. So my second item is another one where I was kind of like, what's a really common breakfast thing, like a short rest thing to do. And like you brought up, you had the mug of coffee thing, and honestly I thought about this before that had come up with, but so technically you could use this, the item is the mug of remembrance. So you could drink your hot coffee out of the mug of remembrance and get all of the effects all together. Because it's during a short rest, the user can drink a hot beverage of their choice from the mug. For the next 12 hours, they gain the following benefits. They can remember anything that's happened to them, including specific wording and conversations for the last 30 days. And then they have advantage on all history checks. And then you can use it once every 48 hours. That's kind of like a 12 hours, 48 hours. So you're not like always constantly got this buff on it.
That's a fair limiting factor.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's another one of those things. I really like the keen mind feat as well. And it's very useful in a lot of campaigns of like remembering stuff. So this is something that I would want to have for my character, just so I can be like, okay, we had a conversation 3 months ago about with this guy in real life.
So if I drink it right this second, I can remember anything that happened 30 days ago.
Correct.
Oh,
You're
interesting.
Transported back.
It opens your
yeah. It unlocks that short-term memory thing. Yeah.
Oh, that's really interesting.
It's kind of that thought of like, oh, you're brain has a perfect picture of it. You just can't access it all at once. And then this kind of unlocks that knowledge of being able to recall all of that stuff.
Oh gosh, that is really interesting. Yeah, I read it a different way at first. I was reading it like you drink it and starting now you're great at memory.
No. This is so this is something for like I said, like a cast back for keen mind. Like if you're trying to recall lore or something about somebody that you've come across in the past. I'm old and I forget things, so it's very nice to be able to go, hey DM, what was that thing that we talked about 6 months ago? Right.
And I have to
know it's important.
Hey,
right?
Note taker in the group. Yeah. What did we do 6 months ago?
Right. We're about to rewrite history because
nobody wrote it down.
No
all the time. Actually, his accent sounds like this.
Yeah.
Oh, that guy you talked to one time who I did a unique accent for? Yeah, no, I don't remember.
He is this.
He's Southern now. That's not a mistake.
But I do like this item a lot. I think it's really interesting. The idea of drinking something and then your memory being boosted in that way is really fun. And playing off the idea of like, I don't know, I've been sober for more than a year now, and it's like all I can think about when I read this is the idea of blacking out and being like, this is the opposite of that. This is way better.
Well, what happened last night?
Incredible. I'll remember everything.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
For better or for worse.
Yeah. Full enlightenment for a full month.
I also love the idea of like using this as a vessel, and it's not the liquid inside that does it, it's the vessel that does it. So if you put a liquid inside of it that has effects like the coffee or like, some other potion or whatever else, you could put some squash soup in there if you want to count it as a beverage. You get both of the things, and they just they synergize so nicely. It's a nice little like stackable benefit that it can create for you, which is pretty unique. There aren't that many things that do that.
Yeah, I mean, the challenge with this was coming up with food items that wouldn't just disappear immediately or like wouldn't be, once you use them, they're gone. So I was trying to come up with those kind of adjacent things that are reusable that are around food. It's kind of where the inspiration came for all this.
Well, that's great. Also gives a great incentive to use a skill that it is underused usually. Like if you have a chance to use a history check, I always try and prompt those from my players because it just doesn't naturally come up as much as like athletics or perception or whatever.
Right.
I like history checks a lot, and this is a very good use of that.
I'm such a lore junkie that like I put history checks all over the place.
Yeah, so do I. I'm a big fan of all intelligence-based checks. Any chance to lore drop.
It's great. Very fun. Very fun. Well, look at that. See? It's
we
not
made
so hard.
it. We did it.
So hard. Yeah, for the first foray into having other folks come on the show and make things, I think we ended up with 8 incredible things, and 6 of them I would never have come up with on my own. And I love that. I love that so much.
8 things that are really unique too.
No real
crossover into anybody else's territory, which is usually the problem that Dan and I have.
Yeah.
Where we'll just like brush each other, right? We'll just get so close. But even more than that, I feel like a lot of these are very synergistic. Like a lot of them could just work together.
Yeah.
If a party had all of these, you could really use them together in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
Get into that delicious in dungeon, and all of these are top tier for that for sure. That'd be great.
Oh my gosh, yeah I can't imagine. I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever been like camping or hiking or something like kind of outdoorsy. Like I guess the closest I'll ever freaking get to adventuring. It's just like camping with like there's a bathroom. Like I'm not going if there's not an actual bathroom, but like I use a tent. That's my big achievement. But like just the idea of having freshly brewed coffee, incredible. Like, it just makes those things that are simple and taken for granted and elevates them to a level of, like, God, imagine having tres leches after a whole day of kayaking or something like that. Like, it's just, oh, man. All of these could really hit
or
the
like
spot.
Before a full day of kayaking and dealing with how heavy that is. Just like, oh my God, I got to cross this river, dude. Oh
I have a thermos of
that's
squash
a little
soup
too much
ready to
cream.
go.
yeah. Got my thermos, got my tres leches cake, and my charcuterie board ready for adventure.
Let's do it.
Incredible.
Amazing.
Out into the desert we go.
Well, wonderful. Thank you two once again for being here, for joining us, for coming with top-notch creations. We really appreciate it. Before we go, why don't you let folks know where they can find you and the things you make?
Well, I'm Justin. I'm one half of So You Want to Be a Dungeon Master, the podcast. You can find us at So You Want to Be a DM on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Patreon, Twitch, and I think that's most of them. We also have a Discord server. There's a link tree. You'll find it somewhere in one of the many bios in the world. Click on that. All the stuff's there.
That's Wanna, WANNA, not want to.
Oh, that is big. You will not find us.
Wanna.
That is important. Yeah. We went colloquial. We have a really exciting actual play coming out. September 5th will be the debut. Runs through October 11th every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over on our Twitch, called The Public Domains, where the players are we have Dr. John H. Watson with Taylor. Then we have Zorro, Alice, Vanessa Helsing, and Winnie the Pooh going on a fun little adventure.
Yeah.
Love that.
Level 8, 3 of them picked Silvery Barbs, gang. I'm done. I'm ruined. I'm ruined. We did a session 0.5 last night.
It's fine. It's fine. Silvery Barbs did nothing wrong.
When they did the cascade, it was like one of them cast it, another one cast it. I was like, you guys all have it? It's like, no.
A deluge of Silvery Barbs is worse than one Silvery Barbs. That is true.
Yeah.
That is true. But that means nobody has reactions anymore.
Exactly.
Very true.
That's true.
I'll use that to my benefit. Conveniently be 61 feet away at all times, or whatever the range is.
Yeah.
Use Silvery Barbs and
those
not counterspell,
diagonals
please.
on the grid
that's
to
great.
my advantage.
Please. Well, I guess that's it for us, huh? We'll have to get back to business as usual next time, sadly, right, Michael?
Yeah, sadly.
Michael,
Dan.
you have anything to say to our friends and the people listening before we say goodbye?
Dan, you know that I always have something to say to the people listening before we say goodbye. Today, go out and try a new recipe. Just also, if you're looking up a recipe online, just skip to the recipe. Don't give those people the gratification of reading their life story before you get to your recipe for autumn bisque. You don't need to do that. Just skip down to the list of ingredients and ignore everything above that. Ignore everything above it because it doesn't matter. But please look at other people's recipes. It's wonderful. It's wonderful to find food from people that are from different backgrounds from you, especially.
But do read the preamble to Michael's recipes from Chef Brew RD. Do actually read the preamble to that. That's the only case in which it's okay to do so. And you can find
only because there's mechanical rules in there. Yeah, there's things that show you how to operate the soups, Dan.
But you can find that, and you can read that, and you can find those recipes and all of the things that we've made today over on our Patreon. That's patreon.com/College of Creation pod, and find all of the things that all four of us have made today. Try them out, put them in your games, and tell us what you think. Justin, Taylor, it's been a pleasure to have you. Hopefully we can do it again sometime.
Thank you for inviting
Absolutely.
us. Yeah, let's definitely figure something out.
All right, folks, take care of yourselves and have a great day. Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye. Hey everyone, Michael here. Thanks for listening to this episode of the College of Creation. If you want to see our creations from this episode and all of our past episodes, you can find those for free on our Patreon page. That's patreon.com/collegeofcreationpod. If you feel like supporting us further, you can become a patron and access a few bonus recordings, like top 10 lists, D&D related games, and conversations that were cut from full episodes for time. If you have any questions or a homebrew prompt you'd like to see Dan and I tackle on the show, you can send those to collegeofcreationpod@gmail.com. And our intro and outro music is by Fuserwolf. You can check out his content on Bandcamp and Spotify. Again, thank you all so much for listening.